I'm starting a $10 million real estate fund. In this video, I'm going to tell you why I'm starting it, how I got here, who I'm starting this $10 million real estate fund with. I'm going to let you sit in on the meeting and I'm going to take you along the process. But before we continue, I want to give you a warning. I am not trying to raise money from you. I'm not asking you for anything in this video. To be quite honest with you, only certain people will be able to invest in this fund. But what I want to do is document my journey, and I want to tell you how I even got here. So let's back up all the way to 2016. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Nicole Purvey. I'm a real estate investor, and I founded the Better Than Success Real Estate League. I started the club because I wanted to learn how to invest. And in about a year and a half later, I bought my first property. I did a flip, and then I started accumulating my own portfolio from the top of 2018 all the way through until 2023. I bought properties, I rehabbed them, and I built up a portfolio, a nice size portfolio. At the end of last year, I started to feel very, very frustrated. Very frustrated. Repairs were needed. They were eating into my profits. Tenants were driving me nuts. And when I sat down and looked at everything, I was like, this was great, but I don't feel like shucking and jiving for $200 a month, $300 a month. And in some best case scenario in my portfolio, I have a couple of units that give me $500 per unit in a duplex that I have per month. But this is just not worth it. This is so much of a headache. And in order for me to get to where I want to get to, if I'm going to be nickel and diming, and by nickel and diming, I mean acquiring one property here, a duplex here, up to a 4-unit there, and rehabbing them, if I want to get to where I want to get to in terms of financially and portfolio size, if I'm going to nickel and dime it this way, it's going to be a lot of work that I'm just not sure I got in me. I don't feel like arguing with contractors no more. I don't feel like arguing with tenants no more. And I just don't have it in me. And so I decided, I did a video on this channel about why I'm selling my portfolio, my entire portfolio. So that was a year ago. And so I thought to myself, I said, I'm going to start doing large deals at that time. And y'all haven't heard anything out of me. That was literally about 10 months ago when I did this video. You haven't heard anything out of me since then in terms of this whole process. After I made that decision last year, I realized that I had to do some inner spiritual work to prepare myself for this journey. Now, you know, on this channel, I've been talking a lot about spiritual stuff and all that good stuff. But one thing I know about myself is I'm a very courageous person. This means I will do something even though the fear is there. And sometimes that is really good, but it's not good if you're going to do a long-term project, something that requires a lot of time and energy investment, because you cannot continuously manifest over a period of time in a state of fear. And I realized that I had a lot of fear in my heart around starting to do larger deals. So I said, okay, I have to work on myself internally before I even try to raise a dime to do these larger deals. I cannot manifest from this space. I did have the wisdom to know that. And I hope that this is also inspiration for some of you who you may be in a state of fear, and part of the fear is imposter syndrome. That part of why you haven't achieved your goals because you cannot manifest any big project, any big goal in a constant state of imposter syndrome or a constant state of fear. And so I said, okay, I have to work on myself. I didn't know how long it was going to take. And so I literally just threw my hands up and started this spiritual journey of intentionally aligning my spirit with that of a person who does large deals. And so in just a few minutes, I already started to put the team together. I am there mentally. Like, I can taste the deals and the investors. I can taste it. I'm already that person. I've shifted to that identity. That's a whole 10 months later. I hope that it won't ever take you this long. Or, you know, some of you may take longer. I don't know. But I'm about to have a meeting with my partners on the fund, and I'm going to give you a peek in on the meeting. But before we do that, I did want to talk about a couple of things that I had to do spiritually before I got here. So the first thing that I had to do spiritually is I had to redefine my identity. I had been so ingrained in the identity of an investor, contractor, rehabber, that I didn't realize how deep the identity was, and I was holding on to it for dear life. I was holding on to it. And I had to do a lot of work in terms of redefining my identity. And a lot of times when we think about redefining our identity, we think about just shifting the identity, but we don't think about letting go of the old one and what that process looks like. A lot of times that process is a grieving process. If you don't allow yourself to grieve, then you have not accepted the shedding of the old identity, and you have not therefore made room for the new identity. So the first few months, I was probably working really hard and just trying to shift identities without shedding the old one. And in shedding the old one, I had to grieve. I had to also accept that this is no longer what I do, and accept that some of my relationships were going to change, and accept that it's going to affect my finances at this given moment, because I was used to getting large chunk paydays from refinances and rehabs and making large chunks of money through that. And I had to accept the fact that this was no longer going to be a thing. The next thing that I had to do, and honestly, this video isn't fair because I'm only going to give myself a few minutes to explain maybe 2 or 3 things, but it was probably a series of, I only know this because I documented the entire journey, but it was a series of probably maybe about 25 different spiritual epiphanies that I had to have. So the first one was an identity shedding and then an identity shift. The next thing was I had to work on the imposter syndrome, which I just did a whole video about how imposter syndrome is really the spirit of fear. And so I had to work on that. The main scripture that shed a light in this process is, for God did not give us the spirit of timidity or the spirit of fear. He gave us the spirit of power, love, and self-discipline. And so if you know you're living in a spirit of fear or you have imposter syndrome, then this means that you are either not living in a spirit of love, power, or self-discipline. I did a whole entire video on that. I highly encourage you to go watch the video. I'll link down below. I'll link it somewhere on the screen, something. Highly encourage you to go on record, watch this video, because I explain what love, what power is not what you think it is, and self-discipline, what that means as well. And so I had to remove myself from this spirit of fear and reprogram my subconscious to be in a state of power, love, and self-discipline. The other scripture that's very important here when removing the spirit of fear is a scripture that I'm going to paraphrase it just a little bit. Fear does not exist in perfect love. And so if I'm going to do this and I'm carrying the spirit of fear, this means that I am lacking in perfect love in somewhere, lacking in receiving perfect love from the Father, lacking in receiving and giving perfect love for the people who I am doing this for, the customers, the tenants, the clients, the investors. And so I had to reprogram my mind to really find that perfect love. I know, right? And the final thing that I had to do in order to get me to a place where I am like now, I am a fund manager, is I had to partner up with the right people. In the past, I have made some very foolish decisions about who I partnered with. And not that all of the partnerships were terrible, but I had gotten into a very lazy way of partnering with people. Let me also back up before I even start talking about partners. I had to realize that I had to do this with partners. As an investor, a real estate investor, I did a lot of stuff by myself. I own a few properties with 2 separate partners, But for the most part, most of my portfolio is by myself, and I did everything alone. And it was great. But in having a son 4 years ago, I realized that I need partners to do everything. Everything. My dad is pretty much my co-parent. I have a partner now in life. And so I've just been accumulating partners, and about a year ago, oh, maybe not a year ago, a little bit after all this, I decided I'm not doing anything alone anymore. I took on partners with my real estate club. I just decided I'm not doing anything alone anymore. If it needs to be done just by me, then it don't need to be done. Okay, I'm not thinking big enough. So once I decided I was going to take on partners, I took my time in deciding who I wanted to partner with. And then the other thing that I did was I found partners. I put together a team. I did it in a sense of I saw these really good colleagues that I have, and I said to myself, these guys will be perfect in this puzzle, with me being a piece of the puzzle. We don't even know who's going to be at the helm yet. And I'm totally okay with not being at the helm, but what I do know is this is what I am good at. Like, if I want to do a fund, what am I really, really good at in doing this fund? A lot of times when we start on a new project, we just say, hey, I'm going to do this and I'm going to be at the helm. No, I'm going to do this. What do I already bring to the table? And what does this project need? And who do I know that can fulfill the areas where I am lacking in? That is how you start a partnership. We have no idea who's going to be the fund manager or who's going to be in charge. We're actually going to meet about that in person here in California, November 1st through the 3rd. So I'm really excited about that. And you can join if you want to come in on this meeting. We've set it up to where as though we're inviting people to sit in on this meeting as we make these big decisions. I'll post a link below. We're calling it the multifamily real estate retreat. Post a link down below. And you can come to that as well. But my whole point that I'm making is I had to put the right players in the right seats. Okay? And I'm really excited about that. So our meeting starts in just a few minutes. I got to reorganize my office, and I'm going to let you sit on the meeting. Some of the stuff I'm sure I'm not going to be able to let you hear, but I'll cut in a couple of clips, and I want you to be on this journey with me as I start this real estate fund. If you've been investing in real estate 1 and 2s at a time, I highly recommend you to come to the conclusion as quickly as I did, quicker than I did, that if you really try and get busy, you need to get busy. Stop doing these 1s and 2s. And let me just also say this one last thing to you before we go into this meeting. When we first started BTS, the Better Than Success Real Estate League, y'all know we used to be in person. We had an office space, and we were it was an event space, and we would hold real estate events a couple times a week. And a lot of times we would have these big investors come and speak. And every big investor that did large deals, multifamilies, apartment buildings, big new construction projects, they all said it takes as much work to do the big deals as it does to do the small deals. They all said it. And I don't want to be stressing about this no more. I don't want to be stressing about small deals. If I'm going to be stressing about something, I need $1 million paycheck at the end. And I'm so excited. Just by the way, we already got 3 deals that we are ready to put into the fund, and the fund isn't even created yet. So come on, let's go into the meeting. What's up, y'all?
I said, I always gotta be ready for you with the camera.
You do. Put your makeup on. All right, everyone. We got a lot of stuff to cover today. I'm so excited. I don't know if y'all feel the same way I feel. You feel like that, no? Or you just out here emotionless as usual?
That is funny. I have to learn, not to be excited, but it's like, in real estate, I only get excited when I actually close the deal, and then that's it. I'm not excited no other time, only when the closing happens. I'm not excited about anything else other than that. And then I like the part of stabilizing, so I do like the processes of that, because it just that's my ego, because it confirms that I know my shit. So I love that process of it, and then it's on to the next mountain.
We need to start This is what we need. You and I need to start a spiritual YouTube channel because your beliefs conflict with mine. But not to say that either of them are wrong. You out here thousands of units deep. Clearly it's working.
I just don't get excited about the process of it. But once you get there and sign at it, boom, that's it. Celebrate it, and then next to the next one. Try to stabilize it because these are distressed, which a lot of people don't understand. It takes a lot, and I just kind of tell folks like, you can't have too many distressed properties in one without the right processes, because then you'll fuck yourself. You can't take on too many distressed assets like that. It is, you gotta stabilize them first. And I only know it because I fucked myself before years ago, so I know. Not having a process there.
First, before we go there, let's set up an agenda. What are the top things we're going to talk about today, so that we don't get too lost in one topic?
First thing, I think we just need to decide who like. Let's just pick 3 people from that list, and like, hey, we're going to interview them, and we're coming away with one of those people from the list that's going to help us create this fund.
All right, pick a lawyer. What's the next thing we're going to talk about today?
I think we need to, and we'll probably talk about this when we come out there at the end of the month or early next month, but go into more detail of the pie and how it's split up and the responsibilities of the 5 people that are involved. Talk about the clarity surrounding, and I don't know if you have an idea already, Nicole, but in my mind, people think it's faster money than what it is. It's really like slow money, in my opinion. And
I think Jabbar understands that. I think we would definitely need to educate my dad, but what he does, he understands how all this whole process works. As long as we put money on the front end on the acquisition side, then I think it'll be enough to keep everybody going.
I think when it comes to investor relations, once we get into it, different things like the dinners, it could be it could be a golf outing.
Or remember I was saying when I did a football tailgate.
In terms of events and the social part, y'all know that's always been my bag, right? And
not easy either.
Huh?
It's not easy either.
It's not. That's what I'm gonna get to. One thing that God has shown me is with these events, the way that I've been doing them, I'm thinking too small, and I've been operating too small. And one of the things that confirmed it for me. So the too small part is twofold. One, it's too small. I've been thinking too small. And 2, it's oversaturated. I had a big epiphany when I saw your event, Noel. Your event should have been packed. And it wasn't. You know why? Because there's a fucking real estate event every day of the week.
And Philly, yeah.
Every day of the week. It wasn't like this before.
Correct.
And so my whole point that I'm making is I don't want to do something just to be doing it. Like if you want to do your tailgate thing, have at it. But I think we can create a really great experience for our investors. This is a closed door, like only if you are a accredited investor. This is a different conversation. If you're going to continue to do these events, just know that it's going to be the same people. And you ain't going to draw no big crowd. It ain't there no more. Everything has just been watered down. Everyone saw what I did and was like, I can do this too. And then now we just go hop from event to event to event to event with no clear direction. And it's just like, we're just here. Y'all shaking your head because y'all did. Y'all already did.
It is true. It is true. You'll see the same folks there at the events. Yeah, you have a valid point there.
Yeah, and they are spin-offs of Nicole. Like the other major ones are people that was at all your events in the group and then started their own group and started having events too.
And I'm grateful for it, but what I'm saying is this. Let's remove ourselves. We're starting a $10 to $20 million fund, and let me tell you why I started thinking like this. Carrie and you know who I'm talking about, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
I went to one of their events. I see how they roll. They're not doing these little events like, and again, it's not got nothing to do with this. Cause with Steve, like, yo, I with anybody. You got money, I with Green.
He the Tony Robbins shit. I got.
I'm green. I don't give a fuck. So my whole thought process is we need to be the black version of that. They don't even need to know. Like maybe we do Philly Real Estate Week. That's when you see us. That's when we pop out and shit. But like we're over here. If we gonna do something, I think if you do your tailgate, I think it needs to be exclusive, invite only. Are you a high net worth individual? Can you service us in this capacity? Can you service us in that capacity? That's just my opinion. Now, if you want to do a Crown Capital thing where it's like, hey, I want to teach people how to do this because that's what y'all doing over there, that's a different event.
Oh no, I was just having fun, giving out drinks.
No, I know, but I'm just saying this how we going to separate ourselves.
All right, so you want to
be on some Don Peoples type vibes, yeah.
That's the only way we're gonna do this.
All
right. I'm just trying to get the thing. That was the conversation I was gonna have to you at the end. Okay.
I just need the lawyer. I need to set it up. That's
okay.
My biggest thing.
All right, that's what we want to focus on today. Okay.
Well, that's what I want. One of the things I just want to have us get away with it so we can know. Okay. Because nothing can progress without that.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure we had a list of things that we didn't focus on all the wrong stuff. All right, I'm gonna copy that big email that you sent.
I've had a consult with the Trowbridge. They like old school money and shit. They old as hell, so I don't know if they're built to grow with us. Because they both like 70, 80 years old. But I talked to them differently from just creating a fund. I only talked to them because I just wanted to know how they structure something. So I didn't talk to them, but I do know they do set up funds.
And then crowd check law, which was the second one. I really liked them. I was leaning towards them as first only because they seem to focus heavily on online raising. So not just the structure itself, but also how to raise money from people that you also don't even know and raise money like online. They teach, it seems like they teach a huge online presence, how to do that legally. And then I felt like that tied in directly to Nicole's skill set already. She's already online. She already knows websites and everything like that. So if you just add the funding component to it, I felt like not only could we really grow with the personal connections and one-to-one conversations with Jabbar and your pops, but then also exponentially grow with the online presence that CrowdCheck like focuses
So
on.
let me ask you a question. That's a different type of fund, right? And that's another thing. We need to decide what type of fund we want because you got the funds that let you do money from non-accredited, and then you got the funds that let you do a certain amount of accredited. Then you got the other funds that's like accredited, but it's limited amounts.
Yeah.
We have to decide what type of fund we want to do too, right?
Yeah, so but I think the lawyer will help us guide us.
Got it.
That's the whole point. That lawyer should help us guide us to like, hey, this would best
Got
suit
it.
what the
Right.
vision is.
Okay.
And CrowdCheck does all of those, but they can incorporate the website or like the online component.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I do not want to I don't want to do crowd funding.
I think it's what I see my line brother do it. There's so many people that he did. He raised $3 million over a month. He was like, it's too many people to answer to.
Yeah,
$50 here, $100. That
So
should go
keep
crazy.
personal relationships with people we talk to and know. And I know Noel mentioned this about Trowbridge, but Sidley also has done a lot of deals in sports with like acquisitions of teams and stuff like that. So
I didn't even know that.
yeah.
But keep that should be siloed. It should be for
Yeah. I figure,
So
if it helps build a stepping stone to relationship. But they also have a ton of different focuses, but it's a huge company. I think this one is international as well, which I liked because if there's like an international connection, then there may be some synergies or relationships.
Start doing stuff internationally. That'd be.
I wrote that down. I want
Fire
to
flame.
build like a
Honestly, I think we thinking too small with the 10 to 20.
luxury resort.
I think we thinking too small with 10 to 20 mil, but
Me too.
like, oh, you thinking luxury resort? I'm thinking Africa.
Yeah,
It's way too much opportunity in Africa right now.
I
No,
agree. I think
that's how you gonna buy your eagles.
yeah, there's really no reason why we should have to start with 10 mil. 10 mil is really not a lot,
It's not.
especially if we're
Well, I
talking.
mean, it really all depends on how effective the client relations team is. Me, Jabbar, and Dad,
Yeah, and my
and then
the
y'all
only
deploying the
reason,
money.
yeah, the only reason I said 10 mil was okay to start with is just to prove the concept, and I mean it's already a proven concept, but just prove us working together, knock one out, and then fine, the next one is 50 mil or whatever.
I
Yeah,
mean, I guess the way that I'm thinking about this, the same way that you're thinking about this, is whoever we end up going with, we may be in a complete relationship with them.
exactly.
Oh, here's Irish. Irish.
Yeah, she been on.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'm
I
over
just
here constructing
came
this
here.
email.
So,
Huh?
I just came here. What do you need assistance from me?
I was you was taking a while, so I was actually teeing up an email for you. Um,
Oh,
we need we need you to schedule a meeting with the three of us plus lawyers. I'm putting it's on the screen. I'm putting the lawyers on here and the times that we are all available.
okay, sure.
Some of these are large corporations, some of them are small. So you're just gonna have to try to give you exactly like, hey, just say, hey, just you can tell them that you're an executive assistant and
Mhm.
just say your employer is setting up a 10 to $20 million private equity real estate fund and we're interviewing lawyers to help us set it up. All
I
right.
always had this thing on the back of my head. I was going to do a big deal with Emmett Smith for some reason. Even though he was a Cowboys fan, I disliked him very much. I like what he was doing in the real estate space.
Yeah, it's a lot of folks that do it. Luell Dang does it. Avery Mitchell used to play for the Spurs. He has one as well. A lot of them do it now.
Put me in front of them mother.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm gonna tell you right now, sometimes it works to my disadvantage
Why you say that?
because what a grown man will do is be like, my wife ain't letting me work near that.
Fair enough. Fair
I
enough.
can see that.
So
Fair.
sometimes I may have to call in reinforcements if it's a situation like that. It's funny because I've been saying this for years, and it's this lady that's on TikTok. Beautiful woman. She's a PhD doctor psychiatrist, and she breaks down a lot of relationship stuff. And she talks about how being a pretty woman could hurt you, and she gets it spot on. I'm like, I've been saying this for years that they'll try to make you pay, like who I'm not gonna get into it. A lot of people that y'all know have done that to me. Like, why are you mean to me? I
Hmm?
haven't done anything. And it's like, oh, Keisha hurt your feelings in 11th grade, and I look just like her. So sometimes I may have to call in reinforcements.
So what do you call ugly people?
No, dudes. Like for this, back when I was lining things up for BTS and some of the stuff that we was doing, I'd just be like, screw you. But like for this, if we're trying to take down somebody, I may have to call in the reinforcements with y'all, like, all right, this person, this is what this is. I'm gonna need y'all to do it because I can already catch the feels. Let's talk about the structure. Let's have a pre-conversation about the structure.
Well, one, I was also looking for the lawyer to weigh in on that. I mean, we have to come to them with a basis of our idea. But they've done tons of funds, and so they've seen how they've been structured and how everything's chopped up, in those funds. So really, I was looking for the lawyer to give some best practices related to that? And then there's also some legalities related to it.
That you do have to have it there. Industry standard is 1 to 2%, but then the lawyer makes the private placement memorandum, which this fund will have, and that will be disclosed in there for your investors to read and sign. No, if you want equity, like there's people that, yes, you have to have a role. Like there's people that they'll bring in and give equity, and they're just asset managers, meaning they're just managing the property managers. They didn't raise any money, but they got 2% equity, and now they're in the property just to do that asset management. Yeah, but that's all detailed in the PPM. But you just have to you're right in the sense that you just have to know what are the fee structures for folks.
Although you could be a part owner of the fund, but not be the owner of the actual deal that the fund buys. So there's a separation there too.
What's our name gonna be? I got an idea, but it's
What's the one the lawyer said? Fat Five? What is it? What do you?
We're not gonna be Fab Five. We're gonna be as corporate as possible. We're gonna go as corporate as possible. Too bad Crown Capital is taken.
Oh.
Bring CPIG back.
That was horrible then.
Bring back what?
We had started a company called CPIG.
CPIG?
Well, it was the acronym. It meant something like
Commercial Property Investment Group.
Right.
But then when you put the acronym out, I don't even think we realized that at first.
We
like
did.
CPIG.
Yeah, it looked like CPIG.
But then it was something, I can't remember else. It was something that, the Colored People Investment Group.
Yeah. Right.
I forgot about that. Yeah. We had a logo and everything. You know?
I want to see what you do with the logo.
Listen.
Do something good where we can get the polo shirts at the golf outing. The logo's got to be fire. That's what I care about. Yeah, at the tailgate, at the golf joint. I'm taking golf lessons right now.
Damon is a avid golf player.
Yeah.
Like 3-4 times a week. According to him, he's really good. According to him.
If he goes 3-4 times a week, he probably is.
Yeah, he's very athletic. He used to be a baseball player.
Oh, he's good.
Yeah.
Got the swing down.
We're actually I'm trying to get on this guy's podcast. We're gonna go to Dallas. He wants to put together like a little golf thing. All right, y'all. Let's
All right.
keep it moving. We'll circle back tomorrow.
All right.
So we just had our first meeting, and we did decide on a couple of things. First of all, we need to narrow down a lawyer that's going to help us form our fund. For those of you who don't know, if you want to start a real estate fund, you have to be registered with the SEC, which means that you have to basically tell the SEC that you exist. And there are rules and regulations around how you can raise money and how you can disperse the money and who you can raise the money from. And in order to create those documents, you need a lawyer. So we're first trying to narrow down the lawyer that we're going to work with. So we have about 4 names in the pot. We had previously 6 or 7. We went through all the names and we decided who we didn't like and all that. We narrowed it down to 4. I sent it to my assistant for her to set up the meetings with us so that we can interview these lawyers. The other thing that we need to decide on is a name. We still don't have a name, and what type of fund we will be. Our lawyer is going to help us decide what type of fund we will be. Some of the things that are determined by the type of fund that you're going to have is what type of investors you will take, who will be allowed to invest, how much money they have, what their net worth is. Those are typically called accredited investors, and the type of fund determines how many investors you can have, whether you can have accredited investors or not, so on and so forth. I think we all agree that we want to only work with accredited investors. These are investors that have a high net worth or a high income. raises a lot of stress when you start dealing with people who are not accredited. They start wanting their money back sooner. They have a lot of questions, and you're dealing with a larger pool. If you're dealing with just accredited investors, you're going to raise a good amount of money from just a small amount of people. And those people tend to understand how these things work. So you're not going to have a ton of questions, and they're wealthy. So they're not going to try to liquidate their money early, and they understand how these things go. The other thing that we started talking more in depth about is the roles between the 5 of us. It was just 3 of us on that call. We're kind of like the founding members of this, but we didn't really need the other 2 to talk about this lawyer stuff, which is mainly what our call was about today. The other thing is we started to have some pre-conversation about allocating responsibility. Hey, who's going to actually be going out to look at the properties, right? Once we identify which apartment building we want to invest in or what commercial property we want to invest in, who's going to actually fly out to look at it? Who's going to be managing the construction? Who's going to manage investor relations? So once we've raised money from our investors, we're probably going to need to have quarterly calls with our investors to let them know what's going on. Who's going to actually be managing these relationships and leading the quarterly calls? We started talking a little bit more about actual raising the money, some of the responsibilities. My job is going to be to close the money. Here's something else that we talked about. Very important topic, having investor events. And what type of events will we do? Now, for those of you who know me, y'all know that I am the events queen. I've been doing real estate events for a very long time. And what I shared with them is this is very different than the events that we've done in the past, whereas these rooms might need to be a little bit more curated if we're going to do investor events. I gave some really great examples to them to allow them to be able to see that these events can't just be, hey, we're doing a real estate event, come and hang out. This can't be that. This is going to be invite only, just highly curated events that the general public will not be able to come to. I don't know if I can share all of my thoughts publicly about this because I've been doing this. I've done this. For those of you who don't know, I've done 500 real estate events. Literally, I'm not exaggerating. 9 big events, between 8 and 10 big events. 2 of them depend on how you qualify. But I've done at least 8 large-scale real estate events and hundreds of small events. So I know what I'm talking about. So this is just a different ball game. And then the last thing we talked about was, I think that was pretty much it. So where we stand right now, my assistant has to set up these meetings with these 4 attorneys. In the meantime, I asked one of the founding members, because he had a lot of ideas around roles and responsibilities. I said, well, why don't you list out all of the responsibilities that you think need to be up for grabs, and we can start to try to allocate them and run them by all the members, all 5 of us, so that we can see who wants to do what. Because there's 2 types of equity in this scenario in terms of the leadership. There is going to be the fund equity and then the actual equity in the assets themselves. So, long story short, we need to figure out how that's all going to be mapped out amongst ourselves. And we just need to figure all that out. And so, but we need to know what's at stake here. So before we bring everybody in on a conversation, we need to start listing some of this stuff out and then bring everybody into the room so that we can say, hey guys, this is what's at stake. Do you want to do these jobs? Do you want these responsibilities? That's how that goes. So stay tuned. We will let you know. I'll keep you posted as possible. All right, bye.